Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new to my channel, please check out the important video links that are located in the description box and the comment section. In those two areas, you will find an identical set of links that link to videos that share information about the technology utilized on targeted individuals, tactics used on targeted individuals, and a plethora of other pertinent information for targets. Also, at the top of all of those links, in both of those locations that I just referenced, you will find links to 3 different video options that talk about what started my targeting in 2020. In one of the videos, I have a full video option for you guys where I'm on camera and I put a 7-part video compilation together. It's 12 hours long, y'all. I know that sounds insane, but I have a very long and crazy story to tell that I did tell in that video, talking about some of the things I've been through since my early 20s up until now, age 32. Because understand, prior to my targeting, I had been through some crazy things, so it's been literally like a spiritual battle since my early 20s. I would say since around age 21 or 22. Up until now, age 32, it's to the point where I am now a targeted individual. Anyways, there's also a second video option you can check out, and it's titled Commentating Over a Clip. And in that video, what I did was about 3 months ago, I went to my full story. I fast forwarded to the part of the video where I specifically talked about what started my targeting in 2020. And I did a screen recording of that part of the video only. And I provided commentary over it, just giving more details about some of the things I said that I wish I had expounded on more. And so in that video, you can also hear what started my targeting without any of the extra details, the backdrop story, although it's important because a lot of what happened kind of plays off of some of the backdrop story. So the backdrop story is very important. And so this is why I keep making sure to say, please check out the full story, because the backdrop story is so important. Some of the things that I've been through, y'all, like it's just these weird things. And it's just like uncanny, weird experiences. Up until now, I just really don't know what's going on. It's confusing. Recently I have apologized for what I said in my full story about my roommate, because I did kind of insinuate, I didn't accuse her, because that's part of what they're trying to hint to me as a part of my punishment. I keep saying this in my videos, y'all. For those of you that have been listening, bearing false witness has played a contentious role in my targeting. But if you listen to my story, you'll hear that I only bared false witness, the actual definition of it. I've only truly accused somebody once, and I was in my early 20s with the cyber stalking, cyberbullying situation. And that was years ago, y'all. I'm 32 now, where I kind of made this accusation towards this guy I was talking to virtually. And it wasn't completely meritless. It wasn't like a crazy off the wall accusation. If you listen to the story, you can hear where my train of thought was coming from. It's just I didn't have concrete evidence that what I thought was happening was happening. And I accused him hardcore when in all actuality he could have been innocent, And so that kind of led to like a whole situation for me. And then after that, life aside from that was fairly normal. I've had like different uphill battles that I've dealt with, that I've talked about in my full story. But other than that one incident, things were kind of normal for me until, later in my late 20s when I went back to school for the second time, and some incidents occurred that directly preceded my targeting, and so that's where bearing false witness kind of came into play again, with sending the text message. If you listen to the story, you'll hear what started my targeting. It started because I sent a text message where I kind of insinuated, I insinuated, something that I felt like something was going on with the people in my close circle. I didn't accuse them. I insinuated and asked a question. I didn't straight up accuse. That's why I brought up the cyber stalking, cyberbullying situation, because that is the only time in my life where I hardcore accused somebody and I didn't just make an insinuation. And then after the targeting started and I told my story, I talked about some of the weird things I had been throughout my life since my early 20s, and I made another insinuation about my roommate. And so when listening to the full story, kind of take into account the fact that I've apologized for insinuating anything about my roommate. I don't know what's going on. I do think something spiritual is at play, but I don't know that the roommate is responsible. And so for me to kind of pinpoint her in my full story and lead sorry, I heard noise campaign outside, y'all. But kind of like lead it back to her in a way, that was wrong. But that was again an insinuation. I didn't directly accuse her. Anyways, guys, so that's what's going on, just check out my videos, please. Check out my full story and or my commentating over a clip video if you're looking for a shorter version of what happened to me without hearing all the backdrop details. But the backdrop details, as I was saying, are very important and will help you have a better scope of everything that's going on and why I say bearing false witness plays a contentious role in my targeting. I do kind of talk about that stuff in the commentating over a clip video as well, but obviously not as in depth as in the full story. I also have a summary video, y'all, where I also talked about what started my targeting. And that video's similar to the commentating over a clip video, where I more so just focus on what started the targeting rather than the backdrop details. But the commentating over a clip video is more up to date. Like I told you, I did that a few months ago, and a little bit more in depth than the summary video. So I keep saying this. You can check out the summary video if you'd like, if that's the option you'd like to listen to hear my story. Look, they're doing the noise campaign in the background, y'all. Listen. Remember I told y'all that they do noise campaigns with roosters. They have all kinds of drones that they use, y'all. They have insect drones. They have rooster drones. They have bird drones that they use for noise campaigns, surveillance, etc. That's why I said check out the links in the description box where I talk about some of these drones. The insect drone is actually used to insert the RFID chip and nanobots so that you can be neuromonitored. So these are some very high science high-tech drones that they are using, and they look real, y'all. The rooster drone, if I were to take a video right now of what's going buck, buck, buck outside my window, it looks like a real rooster. And you would think I was schizophrenic or crazy for saying what I'm saying had you not checked out the evidence that I've put into the description box. That's why I always make sure to document and provide evidence about the things I'm saying, because I know how the program works, and it's designed to emulate schizophrenia and mental illness, and targets are gaslit into feeling like they're crazy. So it's very important that you document and provide evidence about the things that you experience and encounter in the programming, or you will be made to feel crazy, and you will come across as crazy to people who aren't familiar with the program and the tactics and technology used. That's why I include the links in the description box in the comment section, not only to validate what I'm saying, but also to help other targets do the same. Anyways, look, they're flying the insect drone in my eyes now, y'all. It's crazy. Anyway, you can hear the rooster going off outside. Anyway, y'all, this is more documentation. Well, I feel like I didn't finish saying what I was saying, though. Oh, yeah, so the summary video, y'all, because the drone went off and distracted me, and I went off on a tangent. The summary video, y'all, like I said, you can listen to that as well to hear my story. You'll get the gist of what started my targeting. But it's just not as in depth as the commentating over a clip video. So if you're not going to listen to the 12-hour video compilation full story, which is not meant to be watched in one sitting, by the way, y'all. It's meant to be watched in bits and pieces, so you can take your time and watch it. I've had a lot of targets do that and give me feedback. It's an interesting story, I promise. And I know that sounds biased, because of course I would say that it's my story, but it really is an interesting one, y'all. But if you don't have the time or patience to watch that, you can check out my commentating over a clip video, like I said, or my summary video. The summary video and the commentating over a clip video are about the same length. Commentating over a clip video is 30 minutes longer, but the commentating over a clip video, like I just mentioned, is a lot more in-depth and up to date. So I'd recommend that over the summary video. Anyway, y'all, now they got that introduction out the way. It's such a headache doing that intro. But I've already told you on several videos, so I'm not going to keep repeating why I do what I do. But let me say it one more time in this video. I do it because although I know it seems redundant, and I know a lot of my followers probably get tired of hearing the same intro over and over again, because I do it in the beginning of all of my videos for the most part. I do it because I know that the video that I'm creating at the time might be the first video that someone new comes across. And particularly a target, not just a random person, but even if it's just a random person from the YouTube fair that comes through, whoever it is, it might be a new viewer. And I want to make sure that they're familiar with what's going on, because this is peculiar stuff that I'm talking about. This targeted individual program, not everyone's familiar with what's going on. Even new targets, they're out in the cold. They don't really know what's going on just yet. And so I like to make sure that I'm very clear in the beginning of all of my videos so new viewers can know where to go to hear my story, hear more information about the program, and understand what I'm talking about and referencing in a lot of these newer videos. So that's why I do what I do. Anyway, y'all, this is more documentation, more dream manipulation documentation. This is dream manipulation part 5. Because it's crazy. I feel like I keep telling y'all this program works. It's a smear campaign, first of all. Second of all, you get painted in a bad light. There's a lot of warped misconceptions about you when targeted. And also when you're targeted, they try to do not just smear campaigns, but frame you sometimes. Like, let me be careful with my words, because they have this way where when I say something, even if what I'm saying is true, the more hardcore do it to me because of bearing false witness. But that has been my experience. Look at the thing flying by now. That has been my experience, though. It's like, I won't say they're trying to frame me, but frame like actions is what I'm saying. Like, some of the stuff that's being done it would seem like you're trying to frame me. I'm just being honest. Like, I'm not bearing false witness here. That has been my experience. It almost feels that way. But again, I'm being careful with my words because now they're flying the thing by me. And I don't want them to hardcore now try to frame me because I'm saying that. Even though what I'm saying is kind of, anyway. It's just been a weird experience, y'all, where they can use the technology to malign you. I've already told y'all that. Paint false narratives, come for your self-esteem, humiliate you, etc. It's psychological warfare. But the scarier element of it is the painting of false narratives. I can deal with the humiliation. I can deal with you coming for my self-esteem because I'm a strong girl. I can easily bounce back from that, and I'm a confident girl. But when we come to now painting false narratives, that's where it gets scary. So anyways, I want to talk about something that happened to me just now with dream manipulation that I feel was meant to malign me. I'm going to tell you what happened, right? I already told y'all they stalked me through the media. You see the video on the screen that says stalked by media? Please check that out, y'all. It's titled Part 3, Example of the Shadow Networking AI Software Used on Targeted Individuals. In that video, y'all, I know it looks like a mouthful. It's 2 hours and 5 minutes long. I promise you, it's worth every minute. The first 30 minutes, I'm kind of venting before I get into the information that I'm sharing. But I share pertinent information in that video, y'all, about how they use the AI shadow networking software technology to send subliminal messages via your YouTube, via Facebook, via Instagram, via Netflix, Hulu, whatever app you're on. You might notice that you're seeing subliminal messaging. That's part of the emulation of schizophrenia. Because, by the way, if you look up symptoms of schizophrenia, one of the symptoms is feeling like the radio is talking to you, feeling like the TV is talking to you. That is for a reason. A lot of people believe that the targeted individual program is really what the fictitious mental illness schizophrenia is. Many people in the targeted community do not even believe that schizophrenia is a real mental illness. They believe that that's a guise for the targeted individual program. And I stand on the line with that, y'all. I'm not sure, because I even did a video in the past that got deleted. That was one of my videos that got deleted, where I made a comparison between the targeted individual program and schizophrenia. I literally looked at this girl here on YouTube. She has 500,000 subscribers, y'all. Of course she does, right? 500,000 subscribers, and she says she has schizophrenia. So I was looking at this video where she was doing commentary over a simulation of schizophrenia. So she went on YouTube and she found one of the popular simulation videos. You know how you can look that up sometimes, y'all? Like for mental illnesses, if you want to see what that mental illness is like, you can type in schizophrenia simulator, or you can type in bipolar simulator, right? And what will pop up is a video that emulates what it's like to have that mental illness. And so she took one of those videos and she did commentary over it and compared her experience as a schizophrenic, to what was being portrayed in the video. And as I'm listening to this video, I'm like, wait a minute. I said, this girl is targeted. She's not schizophrenic. I'm like, what? So what I did was I recorded her commentary over the simulation and I provided commentary over her commentary, comparing how what her experience was really the targeted individual program. Talking about the fact that she felt like law enforcement was following her. She kept seeing ambulances, hearing voices in her head, V2K. Forget what else she was saying, man. Like you could hear the birds chirping in the background, the loud bird drones, all this crazy shit. I'm like, wait a minute, does this girl know she's schizophrenic? So I did a very detailed video where I broke it down. It was such a good video and it got deleted. And I'm contemplating creating the video again. I'm not sure if I'm going to. So in her particular case, I either think that she's A, targeted and she's been gaslit so damn good that she thinks she's schizophrenic, or B, she's a plant that they hired to create videos displaying the targeted individual program and what's experienced in the program and title it or coin it schizophrenia. So, in other words, hired to kind of, use subterfuge to further push the lie of schizophrenia and discredit targets. Now, I don't know if schizophrenia is a real mental illness, right? And if there's some sort of mental illness out there that's similar to what targets experience. But from what I saw from her videos and from what she was saying her experience is, to me, it seems like schizophrenia, that mental illness in particular, because I won't sit here and say all mental illnesses are fictitious, because I don't feel that way. I do feel like there's true mental illness out there. Of course, they would make the noise in the background, of course, to gaslight me and insinuate that I have mental illness. I'm very sane and cognizant. I think that's what the problem is. That's why they go so ham on me. Anyways, I do truly believe that real mental illness exists out there. I do. But I'm of the opinion, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm on the line, y'all. From what I've seen and the research I've done so far, I'm leaning towards the opinion that specifically schizophrenia is a fictitious mental illness. I don't like putting false information out there, so I'll be real with y'all that I need to do more research on that. But from what I've seen and the research I've done so far, I'm leaning towards feeling as though schizophrenia or believing that schizophrenia is a fictitious mental illness. Anyways, just because what I've seen the symptoms are the feeling like the radio's talking to you, AI, shadow networking, that's what that is. Having the ambulances and the police cars follow you, that's the emergency vehicles being utilized on you. That's one of the main tactics used on targets. Hearing voices in your head, V2K, the evidence of that technology is out there as well. Thank the most I haven't dealt with that. And I keep praying they won't do it to me. They haven't done it. I'm being very real about that. They have not. That's one of the tactics I'm so blessed to have not dealt with. I've dealt with other things, other major things. I already documented certain things, y'all. Like last year for 2 months, at the beginning of last year, I strongly suspect. And the only reason I'm saying suspect is because I'm trying not to bear false witness. I told y'all, even if they did do something to me, if I can't concretely prove it and I say it, then they'll really hardcore do it more to me. So I'm going to say suspect. I had the symptoms. They were hinting to me with the shadow networking software that that's what was going on. But I don't have any concrete proof that concretely I can say this happened to me. I can just tell you I got sick around that time. I felt the burning sensation that's described when microwave energy weapons hit you. I had black rings around my eyes. They were using their shadow networking software to hint to me subliminally through the videos I was watching that radiation poisoning was happening. I got really skinny, and all the other symptoms that come along with microwave energy weapon attacks. That happened to me for about 2 months last year. So I've been through a lot and I've experienced a lot of the tactics used on targets, but V2K has not been one of them. Thank the Most High. I've even dealt with dream manipulation and what I suspect to have been thought manipulation. But the V2K, I have not experienced. If I did experience it, I think I thought it was thought manipulation rather than V2K. But from what I understand about how the two technologies work, although they're similar, they're not the same. The thought manipulation, you'll hear thoughts that sound like your own, but they're not your thoughts. The V2K, it's like a random voice. It could be any old voice, whoever it is that there is in the fusion center messing with you. You'll hear that voice pinging in your head. They even have something called, I don't want to say it, because some of the things I've talked about, they start to utilize on me. So I don't want to go into the details about how bad the V2K can get. and some of the things I learned. It's very scary. And some targets go batshit crazy because of it. So I don't really want to, I try not to speak too much about that in my videos. Anyway, I forgot what I was gonna say, y'all. That just makes me so freaking anxious thinking about that, y'all. That just makes me so paranoid. Thinking about that is such a scary, scary thing. This whole program is so scary, y'all. It's really scary. Anyway, so back to what I was saying though. So there's a plethora of information, y'all, in my comment section because I kind of went off on a tangent. I don't want this video to be too long. Just know there's a plethora of information and links you can find in my description box and my comment section, giving you info about things you utilized on targets, technology, tactics, etc. You can even hear doctors talking about the thought manipulation and some of the things utilized on targets, right? So please check it out. Anyways, y'all, what this is dream manipulation part 1. Part 5, excuse me. I started hearing noise campaigns in the background, y'all, and it threw me off. This is dream manipulation part 5, documentation, right? So let me tell y'all what happened. They keep using their AI shadow networking software that I was just referencing on me. And I've talked about this in several videos, y'all. So if you're new to my channel, please check out my prior videos before you check this one out, because you will be lost. I'm referencing things that I've talked about in prior videos, including the shadow networking software. I was giving y'all the example of this video here. That says part 3 example of shadow networking AI software. And I started going off on a tangent. I have 3 videos, part 1, part 2, and part 3, and other videos other than just those 3, but specifically those 3, right? There's a part 1 and a part 2 to this video where I showed y'all examples of what it looks like when they're using the shadow networking technology on targets. In the part 1 and the part 2 video, I showed you examples of how they use it on me. And I was showing you videos where they were using the shadow networking technology to send subliminal messaging to me via videos I was watching on YouTube, right? In the part 3 video, that clip you see on the screen is them using the shadow networking software on a fellow target, not me, not myself. And I documented it. And I was showing how some of the same tactics they use on me, they were using on him, coming for his self-esteem, trying to humiliate him. And they do these things where they're like roasting you subliminally through these videos you're watching on YouTube, using their AI shadow networking software, right? And they know you're being watched by all these different people. Because when you're targeted, you're being surveilled, right? They're using the insect drones that I just referenced that have cameras and microphones on them. They're using those drones to watch you 24/7. But what they're also doing, another tactic, is sharing a live feed with the people around you. And typically when you're targeted, it's a big smear campaign. Typically you have egregious reactions to the abuse, and they use those reactions to paint you in a bad light. And also whatever it is they're using to smear and malign you, right? And so typically the people around you don't like you, right? Most of them, not all of them, but a large majority of them, because it's a very comprehensive program and they're very good at smearing somebody's name. And so what happens is you have all these people that don't like you watching you. You're familiar with the fact that that's happening. It's already nerve-wracking and it's already nerve-wracking to have people staring at you, especially if you have a personality like mine. I'm anxious, y'all. I already explained to y'all, I've always dealt with social anxiety. I'm extremely introverted. So imagine having a bunch of people staring at you, right? And they truly are judging you. Because with social anxiety, you feel like everyone's watching you. Nobody gives a shit what you're doing, right? But you feel like everyone's watching you and you feel like everyone's judging you. Imagine having that character trait and then truly having everybody watching you and judging you. That's what's going on in my targeting. But with all targets, whether you're introverted or not, because I've seen extroverted targets as well, and they're struggling just as much as I am, you have all of these people watching you via these insect drones all day long. So that's already something that will make you anxious. They're watching you with a critical eye. They're judging you. They don't like you like that. And then they're roasting you via these videos. Can you understand how freaking humiliating and uncomfortable of a feeling that is? Every video you try to put on, they're sending subliminal messaging, either painting a false narrative to make you anxious on the edge of your seat or roasting the shit out of you while all these people are staring at you. Understand it's a very comprehensive psychological warfare tactic, and the program has been around for years, y'all. So it's very, very perfected. It's been perfected. Anyway, so check out that video though. That part 3 example of shadow networking AI software used on targeted individuals. Check it out. That is such a good video. And I really gave details and I showed you an example of them, how they use the technology on a fellow target, right? And how it resembles what I go through. So that's to tell you that's something they do to all targets. They have universal tactics they use on all targets, and then they have tactics they use specific to your targeting. So check that video out, y'all. Also, in the description box in the comment section is a video titled Pertinent Information about the Targeted Individual Program. And that's where I initially introduced the shadow networking software concept and term. I talked about it before, not the concept, the term. I talked about targeting through the TV before that video, but I didn't know it was called shadow networking. In the pertinent information about the targeted individual program, I go into detail about, I'm sorry, y'all, my brain started thinking up there. I go into detail about what the name of the technology is. It's called shadow networking and how they use it on targets. Anyways, y'all, let me get to the point of this video. I told y'all this is dream manipulation part 5. The reason I started talking about that is because they were using their shadow networking software as usual on me to paint false narratives all day yesterday. They do it every day. But a lot of times it's just like they're obviously trolling, right? Or they're trying to humiliate me or, that type of thing. But sometimes they'll slip in like a false narrative and see if it will work. They oftentimes do that. They'll slip it in and see if it will work, that kind of way. And so they're doing that yesterday. And so I started to play this video. My part 3 example of the shadow networking AI software used on targeted individuals. And so I played that yesterday and I think that pissed them off because they started to, go more ham with the technology and with the shadow networking this morning. So I decided to throw on this video. I throw on this video where I know that looks vulgar, y'all, and ridiculous. Where you see a big man bending over in his ass in the air, right? It's titled Sharing Stimuli Used to Sensitize Me. Chosen ones, right? Check that video out, y'all. I talked about this in my full story. This is one of the main things they tried to use when I tried to relocate off island because of what was created from me sending the text, right? They tried to use this thing that happened to me in the States. You got to listen to my full story, y'all, to know what I'm talking about. Or you can check this video out that's on the screen. Because in this video, I also talk about what started my targeting, and I do kind of summarize the story. So even if you don't check out my other videos, you can check this video out and hear what started my targeting about the text message I sent and the obscene, disgusting thing that was created from the text message. And so understand where this became stimuli for me. I'm not going to go into the details of it in this video. But something happened to me when I was in the States, in the mainland, not here on island, when I tried to relocate. My targeting got way worse. I had some reactions that caused the targeting to get much more worse. And so that's when they initially started using their shadow networking AI software on me. It was not happening before I left island. That started being utilized on me after the reactions I had in the mainland. That pissed them off and I guess made them really watch list me for real. I guess maybe I was watch listed before I left island and I don't know, my threat level went higher. I'm not really sure how the thing works or what really happened. But I know that I was being watched before I left island, whether I was on the watch list or not. They followed me when I tried to relocate. And then I had the reactions I had, and they upped the ante with the tactics being used. I started being stalked by way more people after the Greyhound situation. Let me show y'all something real quick. Please check out my part 1, Gaslighting and Programming of the Targeted Individual video. And that video is in the description box in the comment section as well, y'all. I go into detail about what happened to me when I tried to relocate off island. I tried to relocate, like I told y'all, because I sent the text and things started happening. The targeting started happening here on island. I didn't know what a target was, and I didn't know that this was an actual program that would be following me. Thought it was just something spiteful that was being done because I sent the text and bared false witness. Not even really bared false witness, made an insinuation, asked a question. I thought I could just leave and relocate. I had a good resume. I had just freshly graduated 2 years prior, magna cum laude. I had all this experience on my resume. I'm like, I could just start over anyway. I had a good credit score, 700 and change. I'm like, okay, whatever. Things don't work out here on island. I stupidly sent the text. They're doing strippiness. They can't get over it. Whatever. I'll just relocate. That's what I thought. Of course, I didn't feel like it was fair that I had to leave my home. But I was like, okay, no problem. I like the States too. I've lived there for many, many years. That's just no problem. Right? So I saved up some money and I tried to relocate. And I didn't know the thing was going to follow me. And it did. And so I had this horrible reaction on the Greyhound bus with this homeless man. And that was the start of my targeting going viral. That moment on the Greyhound bus with that man is what made my targeting. It wasn't just him either. It was also another man that was sitting to the left of me. I was just acting really gnarly on that bus in reaction to something I had seen in the station prior to getting on the bus, because I realized the thing followed me and I started feeling paranoid and like everyone was involved. And so I started to move really heinous. Like, and when I say heinous, I was just not heinous as in like I'm hitting or cussing anybody out, but I was acting like a bitch, to keep it real with you, on the Greyhound bus. And that moment, they took that reaction, because that's what it was, reactive abuse. It was a reaction. They took that moment and they used it to make my targeting go viral. That was the start of my targeting going viral. So when I got to Indiana, I'm not going to sit here and tell the whole story, y'all. Y'all need to check that video out. But understand, when I got to Indiana, the state that I had chosen to start over at, not to use that word because that's stimuli to chosen one, but the state that I designated as the place where I would start over, when I got there, the targeting amped all the way up, y'all. Like droves and droves of people stalking me, harassing me. That was the start of my targeting going viral and getting really gnarly. Then there was an incident that happened with a police officer. At that point, it had been about a month of my targeting worsening and things being really crazy for me. Had that incident and made it worse. That's when I started seeing the emergency vehicles. That was when I started seeing the helicopters, ambulances, police cars, fire trucks, etc. That happened. Targeting got even worse. Then I went back down to Florida en route back to the island that I tried to relocate off of. Got down to Florida. Things were even, I didn't even know it could get worse than what was going on in Indiana and the other states. Florida, I keep telling y'all this in every video, Florida was on 10, on 100, on a million. Florida, the targeting there was horrendous, right? And it got so bad that I basically eventually sat in my car and shared some really offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda. Understand, it was in the privacy of my car, right? So I've said already, I don't stand by the things I shared. It was clearly an angry response. I've apologized for it a million times, but it was nonetheless something that I shared in the privacy of my car, knowing that my car was bugged. I wasn't out in the streets sharing the information. I wasn't out in the streets screaming the offensive stuff. I was in the privacy of my car, but my car was bugged and I was being harassed by millions. I want to say millions at this point because it was so many freaking people, but definitely thousands of people. And so that was basically the coup de grace. That was the last thing that really made the thing just like go as viral as it could get. And I think what made them watch list me and really put me as terrorist, even though what I shared wasn't threatening, it was extremely offensive, but it wasn't threatening. I didn't threaten anyone's life. I wasn't even in the street sharing the info. You know, I wasn't even acting crazy to the people that were acting crazy to me. It was so many of them. I'm not that type of target. I'm not the type that gets volatile or uses my hands. Not that I'm judging the ones that do, because I understand that feeling as well. That's how the program's designed, to get some sort of crazy reaction out of you, whether it's you using your mouth or your fists. Anyway, so that's what happened. And just from there, the targeting really went crazy. That was when they decided to microchip me. Not up there. It was when I got back to island, because eventually I did end up back on the island I tried to relocate off of. They microchipped me, started dealing with neuromonitoring, dream manipulation. I told y'all the energy weapon thing I suspect that happened to me for 2 months at the beginning of last year, etc., etc. New tactics, shadow networking software, etc. And when I was in my car in Florida before I got back to island, that was when they started using the shadow networking software on me to paint false narratives, to humiliate me. And I wasn't aware of that yet. I hadn't done all my research and learned. Thank the Most High learned the things I learned, y'all. Had I not learned, these people could have framed me. This is why I used the word frame. You know, and they were flying the fly in my face just now. But I'm telling you, had I not learned the things I learned, I could have very much so been framed. Anyway, so they were, sharing some heinous stuff via my YouTube. Every time I would try and put on Bible videos or whatever it is I was trying to watch, every video I would put on would have stuff about lust, predators, you know what, the false narrative that was created spitefully from the text message that I sent. And if you listen to my full story, you'll hear why that doesn't make sense. The text message actually resembles what I was experiencing in the Airbnb right before I came home. So for them to have created what they created from the text is ludicrous to me, and it's out of pure spite. Anyway, so that's what they started to create from the text message. And the people in the fusion centers that had honed in on me because of my reactions started using their shadow networking software. Sorry, the fly started flying in my face on me in my car in Florida to paint a false narrative and to help perpetuate this lie that was created from the text message I sent. And so they were sending me that type of stuff via the shadow networking software. At the time, I was a plumb fool, didn't even know I was a target, hadn't learned that yet. I didn't learn that till I got back to Island, had no clue the type of technology these people had, or that they could hack everything and start sending you subliminal messaging through everything you listen to, including the radio. So everything I put on was talking about predators and lust and this and that. And of course, I didn't know that that's what was going on, that they were using this technology on me. And all these thousands of people watching me and zooming by and acting crazy, and targeting me and watching me, right? And so I'm acting anxious. And the more anxious I'm acting, the more on top of me they are. And I got really pissed, y'all, especially when you didn't do something and you have people, I'm not going to cry now, trust me. I cried in that video that I was referencing because I was tired. When I'm tired and I talk about this thing and I get mad and I'm tired, that's when I cry. I'm not going to cry right now. I'm really good. I'm not tired. I'm fully rested, but I am getting mad. That's why you hear my voice shaking, because when I think about it, I get so angry, y'all. But anyway, so I was angry in my car, just as angry as I am now and more, because I was in the height of the thing, right? And so I was starting to share some really heinous stuff, and they took my reaction to all of that abuse that you were doing to an innocent person, and they took my anger and my reaction to what was being done, and they used it to further propel my targeting and to do more heinous stuff to me. That's pretty much been the theme of my targeting, y'all. It's really just been reaction and reactive abuse and the utilization of my reaction to further propel my targeting. Anyway, you heard him going ham with the rooster. Listen, y'all. I'm sure you've heard it the whole video, but I'm just going to pause a little bit and let you hear. I'm trying to be careful, y'all, because this phone, I don't know if you know this. I've said this in prior videos that I need a new phone and I'm waiting till I get paid again. But it's doing this new thing now where it's literally just shutting off. And if I start a video and I don't hit end before it shuts off, the whole video goes to the pooper. Like, it's gone. So I'm trying to be very careful, y'all. My hands are shaking and all because I do not want this thing to mess up. Let me try to hurry up and do this video because I don't want the thing to shut off and I have to flip out. I won't really flip out. I'm not like that. But I mean, like, be pissed off. So anyways, let me show y'all what happened this morning, right? So I was watching this video I created, sharing stimuli used to sensitize me, because not only in that video do I, again, kind of summarize my story, but I bust down that stimuli they tried to use. Because of what was happening to me in the States, y'all, with them sending the nasty stuff that they were sending to me subliminally, and all of these people attacking me and overtly and covertly harassing me, when I did get around those younger relatives that had to do everything to do with the text message that I sent, that were staying in the room with me when I sent the text message, I was anxious. I was angst, which is completely understandable. And I knew I was being stared at. And so something happened as it pertains to that relative, right? A nervous or anxious response to what was happening to me. Check out this video, y'all. I'm not going to rehash it in this one that I'm creating. Check this out. But something happened in that video. Well, didn't mean to click on it. Something happened in that video with that relative, an anxious reaction that I had to being watched and harassed for months, an anxious reaction that they ran with and tried to use to propel the lie and the false narrative that they were perpetuating. So anyways, this video, y'all, they tried so hard to stop me from posting this video because this video knocks down that narrative that they've been using. That's one of the main things they try to use to push that narrative. And I broke it down very clearly in that video and they didn't like it. Twice, y'all, they made my video recorder app malfunction when I tried to make this video. Then I kept persisting and persisting. So I was like, this is a damn good video. That's why they're trying to knock it down. Anytime I have a good video, y'all, that can knock down a narrative they're using on me, they go ham. They go buku crazy. I'm using wrong words and all. Not buku. They go crazy ham trying to stop me from posting the video. They also did that with this video. The agenda video, where I was knocking down one of the other false narratives they started trying to spin. They didn't start using that one until I got back to Island. Weren't using it when I was in Florida when they weren't using it when I was in Florida when they first started using the shadow networking software on me because they didn't have that ammo yet, right? They hadn't started to formulate that new false narrative. So the only thing they were sending to me when I was in my car in Florida was the predator thing. When I got back, because of some of the things I said in my full story, and because of some of the other things that transpired while here on Island after returning, They created another false narrative, and I knocked it down clearly in this agenda video. So that was the first time they lied on me. They actually knocked the video down and said I was talking about vaccines, where I didn't mention vaccines not once in that video. So check that video out, y'all. That's another good video if you have the time to check out. But we're not talking about that in this video, right? So in this video here, where I knocked down this stimuli that they love to use on me, right? Not only did they hack my video recorder app and try to stop me from being able to upload the video, twice they did that, where I had to recreate the video 2 times. Then when I finally got it uploaded to YouTube and I saw I was being persistent, they lied on my video and struck it down and said I was talking about vaccines. Listen to this video, y'all. Tell me where I mentioned vaccines. Tell me where you hear me mention vaccines. So eventually they finally left the video up because I was so damn persistent. I was like, no way. I'm like, I've knocked down that narrative and that stimuli that they like to use. And that's what the problem is. So I kept it up and I finally got the video posted, thank the Most High. Anyway, so I was playing that video a little while ago because they're again trying to come with that narrative. They barely do anymore. I knocked that narrative down. So they barely come with that anymore, but they still do sometimes. And so I remember I was playing the video this morning. You know, I had just threw it on. They didn't come with it this morning. Yesterday morning, they kind of did a low thing, but not really. They were coming with other stuff. And so that was what led to me actually playing the other video that I referenced, right? This one, where I was just showing an example of how they use the shadow networking software to humiliate targets, to paint false narratives, knock down your self-esteem, etc. I played that video first. And I said, well, let me throw this video on because this video even further validates the things that I'm saying. So I put it on, I fell asleep, I knocked it, I'm tired. You know, last night was my only night off. I told you I work every night. I do security, except Monday nights. So I put the video on and I fell asleep. And as I'm sleeping, I had this weird ass dream, y'all. Very weird dream. So first it started off where I was in the pool, right? And I'm swimming. And it's like this guy was in the pool behind me, right, by a landing board. It's this weird dream where he was by the landing board and he was directing us on how to do like this backflip off of the, I forget what that's called. You know that diving board? You know the diving board that divers hop off on? A hop off of to go into the pool? Which is interesting too, because they know that I said when I was a child, and that's something they started kind of trying to use against me too, but they stopped. But you know, oftentimes they do use pools against me. They haven't done it in a while, but they do use the pool stimuli. I've shown it before via the shadow networking. So when I was younger, and way younger, I almost don't want to talk about it because I feel like they're going to start using it on me again. Anytime I talk about something that they've used before as stimuli and they kind of stop using it, when I mention it, they start using it again. Like that's literally how the technology works. Anyway, when I was a child, you know, like really young, I think I was like 2 or 3. I remember I was at summer camp. It wasn't summer camp. Was it summer camp? I was trying to remember if it was summer camp or elementary. It was summer camp. I remember I was at summer camp at the first school that I went to. And we went to this guy that actually went to school with me. He was my classmate, but he was in the summer camp with me. I remember we went to his house. Actually, this is what's making me feel like it wasn't summer camp. The reason I'm feeling like it was summer camp was because one of the ladies that was there with us was one of the common camp counselors. I'm trying to remember if it was summer camp or not. It doesn't matter, y'all. I can't remember. The fact that I can even remember that the thing happened, that's to tell you how amazing the brain really is. But anyways, and my mom even keeps being surprised that I can remember the story so well, but I really do remember everything. Like I can even remember sitting at the bottom of the pool and looking up. Anyway, so listen, y'all, listen. Listen to the ambulance, listen. Again, them painting a false narrative, they're purposely doing that. They like to do this thing about forget and remember type of thing, because I talked about the fact that for 2 years I was a blackout drunk. I very clearly, y'all, in my full story and in my commentating over a clip video, gave the timeline of my alcoholism. I was never a blackout drunk when I was around any of my younger relatives. That's another lie and false narrative that they try to paint to malign me because they don't like me. And then they keep hinting to me things about bearing false witness. They're purposely spinning all of these like really horrendous ass accusations because they feel like I'm somebody that bears false witness. I've never maliciously bared false witness like what they're doing. And I've apologized for it too. They just don't know grace and forgiveness. Anyways, so they try to do this thing about forget. And I already explained very well in my commentating over a clip video, as well as in my full story, that when I was a blackout drunk was when I was here on island living with my parents in my early 20s. Not even early, it was in my mid 20s. I was living with my parents. No one else was around. It was just my parents and myself. And what did happen to me was I had a moment where I got raped, and that's something else shady that they keep doing. They keep making the dude that raped me add me on Facebook. They're so freaking heartless, some of them, right? He added me again this morning. I forgot to even mention that. I forgot that happened. It annoyed me so bad. Like, they keep making him send me friend requests. And then if I turn around now and I blast who the person is and I put him in my videos, then I'll get one set of backlash for that. But anyway, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. But if I did that, then you would see one set of backlash coming when it's a reaction again to what's being done. Anyways, because even with the cyber stalking situation, I'm not gonna talk about that again, y'all. I just want to done that thing. Even with that was a reaction, I didn't just straight up put that dude in my videos. I told y'all what was happening in the old neighborhood that we moved from. His family was directly involved in my gang stalking with the people in my close circle. That's what led to me talking about that in my story, in addition to the fact that it is a part of my story and a part of a traumatic experience that I had prior to my targeting. Part of what I'm coining as a spiritual attack. It feels like these weird, uncanny things have been happening since my early 20s. But anyway, I'm not going to go into details of it, y'all. They're getting me started. With the ambulance, it triggered me. Anyways, y'all. I forgot what I was saying. God. I'm telling y'all now, though, if he sends me another friend request, I'm going to blast him in these videos. So you better stop telling him to add me. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say. Y'all, I'm trying to focus. I'm sorry. I went off there. I'm sorry. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought, y'all. They're really good at doing that. They do so much stuff. Like, eventually they do get me to lose focus. Like, they do with the noise campaigns until I do lose focus. I was telling y'all where was I? What I was telling you guys? Oh my God. Oh, I was telling you guys about the dream I had, because this is dream manipulation part 5. I'm so sorry, y'all. Y'all already know I have ADD. The whole banner for my channel says living with Asperger's and ADD. So y'all already know, those of you that have been following me, I've talked about this in several videos. It doesn't take much for me to lose focus. I don't have to hear not one sound in the background and I'll lose focus naturally, much less to have all the distraction and the noise campaigns and stuff. Anyway, so with the dream. So anyways, that's why the pool thing, because I was explaining the pool part of the dream and how that might have been stimuli, them having me in the pool in this dream, in the beginning of the dream before it got really gnarly, right? Anyway, so when I was younger, I started to go off and trying to figure out the detail of whether it was summer camp or when I was in nursery. It does not matter. That's such an irrelevant detail. The point is, when I was younger, I think I was like 2 or 3 around this time when it happened. 2, 3, or 4, earlier ages. I remember going to a classmate's house, and they had like this big house, and they had this pool in the back. We were all out there in the pool, and they had several different young adults watching us. So these were kids that went to the school as well. Not kids. Now that I'm older, I would call them kids, but back then they were grown-ups to me, right? But at the time, I believe they were like high schoolers that they had watching us there. This is what's making me feel like it was summer camp. But I do remember that it was my classmate's house. So either he was in the summer camp with me, or they had those same counselors that were counselors, those same teenagers that were counselors at the summer camp here chaperoning at this house. Anyway, so there was a bunch of us in the pool, and there were 2 parts to the pool, right? You had the side for the shallow, right? The shallow end. And then you had the end, the deep end, for the kids that knew how to swim. I didn't know how to swim yet. Right now I can swim like a fish because of the first school that I went to. They have a big swimming pool. They taught us how to swim. I really appreciate that. But at that time, I didn't know how to swim, right? I was a baby. And he obviously had a pool in his backyard, so his parents were taking the time to teach him how to swim. So he knew how to swim. And so I remember I was in the shallow end, and I was supposed to stay in the shallow end. And this big pink floaty, this is why it's like my memory is so good. It's surprising that I can remember all of this. But I think because it was such a traumatic experience, I think the way the brain works, even in childhood, you can remember traumatic experiences. And so I remember that the big pink floaty came floating over to my side of the pool. And I remembered grabbing it. And I remembered climbing on top of it. And I remember thinking it was cool. And as I'm climbing on top of it, it's floating me from the shallow end to the deep end. And so I remember trying to grab back to the shallow end, and it was too late. I drifted out to the deep end. And so I'm just holding on to this floaty for dear life. And then he came over and said, "Hey, get me my floaty." His name was Paul. I will never forget. He's like, hey, give me my floaty, that's mine. I said, please, Paul. I said, I can't swim. He's snatching the floaty from me. I'm like, Paul, I can't swim. And he's just like, that's mine. He snatched it from me. He snatched the floaty from me. And he was a child too. So of course I'm not holding anything against him. He's just a child. And I think he wasn't a single child. He had an older sister. But nonetheless, a child. You know how it is where you don't want to share your toys and stuff. I had moments like that too with my siblings. Anyway, so he pulls over his floaty from me, and I start to float to the bottom of the pool. And I remember literally sitting at the bottom of the pool, looking up, seeing the bubbles coming from my nose. And that's all I remember. I don't remember anything else. What I remember is being at the summer camp again, eating lunch at the table. This is what I remember. And I even remember hearing the counselors talking about it. That's what's crazy. It's so weird how the brain works. I remembered them talking about it, and even if this story is being projected, I know the counselors that were there can remember this happening because it was one of the teachers that worked there. Her daughter was one of the counselors. That's how good my memory is. And if she's watching this, I know she knows what I'm talking about. It's crazy how I can remember that. But one of the teachers that worked there was her daughter and someone else. She's the one who saved me. That teacher that worked there, I believe, I don't want to specify which grade level, the teacher that I remember, whose daughter I believe it was. But she saved me. She basically said she saw bubbles coming up and she saved me, right? So anyways, I talked about that on my full story. I talked about so much stuff, y'all, that they used and weaponized against me, and they used as ammo and bullets against me. So of course, you know how they are, bad-minded and mean, and they like to humiliate you and they like to bully you and all these other things. They started kind of trying to push that stimuli, the pool thing, and showing people drowning in a pool as stimuli. They started throwing that at me, right? So anyways, when they started throwing that at me, I was just like, oh my God, they took everything that I said in my full story and they used it as bullets against me. Everything that I said, I kid you not, even things that I didn't think they would use against me, they have used against me. Everything that I said, even things I wanted to freaking cover this too, because I realized I didn't cover this. When I was in high school, I talked about this guy that I thought I was in love with in high school, right? I talked about him very briefly because he's such an irrelevant part of my story. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean that he hasn't had any major impact on my adult life. That was high school. But at the same time, back then, that was such a big deal for me, what happened. And I went back into high school years too, because I was talking about my roommate and some of the experiences that led up to our situation. And so I did mention him as well. But I don't really talk about him too much in these videos, because he's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. He didn't have any major impact on my life aside from high school. But I still did mention him in my full story. And they even took something I said about him and weaponized it against me too. I talked about the fact that in high school, I had this insecurity. First of all, I felt like he was ignorant, right? And I said that this is partially why I called that nationality of people ignorant, which is stupid too, because I didn't experience that with the other two people of that nationality that I knew. I didn't really experience that with them. I just experienced that with him. But I started calling, I made that stupid comment. Yeah, that's part of one of the many offensive things that I said. That was in my early 20s, because I'm hearing the bird drone. They're using stuff against me from a decade ago, y'all. You know what I mean? I haven't said something like that in years, and I've apologized for it too. I said that shit a decade ago to the cyberstalking, cyberbullying dude. When him and I were going back and forth and I said the mean stuff that I said to him, one of the things that I did say was that all people of that nationality was ignorant. I felt like he was ignorant, but not like that. He wasn't that type of ignorant at all, actually. He was nothing like that. But I did say that comment, and really that's where it derived from, was from my experience with that guy from high school. Now, mind you, I'm not trying to dump on that guy because he wasn't a bad person. Obviously, that's why I fell for him. Aside from that, what I would call a character flaw, and really that's subjective too, because some people might not consider that a character flaw. But for me, I felt like that was a character flaw. It wasn't necessarily what seemed like a preference. It was more so him dumping on what wasn't that, because they get on me, right? This is the hypocrisy of it. I'm trying to word this thing, y'all, without, saying too much. They got on me for saying that I'm not attracted to shorter men. Let me give y'all an example. I don't have an attraction to shorter men. I need a man to be my height or taller. I've said that already. It stems from an insecurity within myself, right? I have always felt like a bigger woman. I am a bigger woman. I'm 5'8", and I'm athletic. I'm naturally muscular. Yes, I go to the gym. Yes, I work out. Yes, I've always been into sports. But naturally, my siblings and myself, all of us are like this. We're all built naturally. We all have muscular arms, a muscular body. That's how we were built. That's genetics, right? That comes from wherever it comes from, right? I'm hearing noise campaign. I don't know why that would cause noise campaign. I don't know why that would be something that would make someone upset. I'm just speaking facts. So I've always been that way, and my siblings have always been that way, where we're genetically inclined to be athletic, and we're naturally built, right? So I have always loved that about myself. That's what made me so good at sports. But it also became an insecurity for me when it got to the dating arena, because I always felt like I needed a man that could make me feel feminine, because I'm such a strong woman. I'm 5'8". I'm muscular naturally. I don't even have to work out. When I work out, it's just more amped up. I don't want a guy that's smaller than me. I just feel like I'm going to feel like the man in the situation. And I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way. I'm not saying that to insult shorter men, because that's what it came across as, because of one of the many insults that I threw at the guy from the bullying situation that I talked about in my early 20s when I said those mean stuff to him. That was one of the many mean things that I said. He wasn't even shorter than me, y'all. I was just saying insults, like young, immature, like insults. Like, it wasn't anything for them to hold on to it for years. And anyway, whatever. Let me not go into the details of that. I'm gonna try not to. It's just how they went ham for the nationality thing. They started going so ham just now when I was talking about how I said, the certain nationality was ignorant. I'm going off on a tangent too. I'm gonna get back, trust me. But I want to talk about this because I feel like it's hypocrisy. When I'm talking about this guy now and what would seem like a preference, they're now making noise campaigns, but you got on me. It's hypocrisy for having my preference. And my preference wasn't even as hurtful, because it's not even to say he just had the preference and then just felt that way and wasn't insulting what wasn't his preference. He used to kind of be like insulting towards what wasn't his preference. And you have to understand, I was young. I was in high school. That's why I felt the way I felt. As a woman, I wouldn't give a shit. I'd just be like, okay, not for me. X, move on. That's how it would feel. It wouldn't be like when I was in high school and young and impressionable and having feelings for somebody that seemed to have a certain preference that possibly wasn't me, right? So anyways, so for me, my preference, I'm not mean about it. I was mean about it in that moment with that dude for my early 20s. And again, he wasn't even falling into the category of what wasn't my preference as far as height goes. I mean, typically I do date taller men. I do. But his height wasn't a problem. He was like an inch taller than me. I just said that to be mean and nasty because of what he sent to me first. It was reactive abuse. It's just that I'm better at being a bitch than the person that's being a bitch to me. And that's always been a detriment for me. I'm good with my words. I'm a writer. So I can say really mean stuff and create a lifelong enemy with the things that I've said because I hurt your feelings so damn bad. Anyway, but that's how I feel about height. I don't have an issue with shorter men. I keep saying that. I don't. There are some shorter men that are more manly than some of these taller men, right? So it's not an issue like that. I don't have a disrespect or a negative feeling or an aversion to shorter men. I don't. I just have an insecurity within myself where although I love being athletic and naturally built, it also makes me feel like I need a man that's bigger than me, right? Because I don't want to feel like the man in the situation. I need a man that feels like he can protect me and is bigger than me. That's how I've always felt. And I don't think there's anything wrong with me feeling that way. They tried to make it like I'm being a bitch and I'm being vain and, the noise campaign and trolling me about saying that. I didn't say anything. It's not like I was here insulting shorter men, like what the dude from high school kind of used to do. I wasn't sitting there insulting shorter men and saying shorter men are disgusting. I'm just saying whatever. Let them not take that soundbite now and try to create stuff. But I wasn't insulting shorter men. I was just talking about what my preference is and why it's that way, right? I even went as far as to be transparent and say it kind of stems from insecurity because I'm a big female. Hello, I don't want to, Anyway, so with this guy from high school, it wasn't necessarily just that he had a preference for whatever he had a preference for, because I talked about it in my full story and now they weaponized it against me. They started trying to use, it's this weird thing they started trying to do, like use Spanish girls against me and, weaponize Spanish girls against me and lighter skin and trying to create this weird thing. And that's not been a thing for me over the years. He's the only guy that I experienced that with, and that was in high school. I was just talking about some of the things that I went through in high school. Stupidly, I included stuff that didn't need to be included, and I didn't realize back then how the program works and that they weaponize everything you say against you. I don't feel that way anymore. I don't have an issue with Spanish girls. I don't have an issue with lighter-skinned women. I don't care. I don't have an issue with those things, but they tried to weaponize that against me, and I started slowly but surely realizing that that's what they were doing. And I realized when I'm watching these dating shows, like every time, it's this weird thing they do. Every time it's a lighter skinned girl on the show or a Hispanic girl, they start doing noise campaigns and stuff. I was like, why are they doing this? And recently, y'all, I had an epiphany. I was like, oh shit, it's because what I said in my full story, that's why they're doing this. I was like, oh my God, I don't feel that way anymore. I'm like, what the hell? They took everything I said and they created narratives with it and they started to use it against me. I'm like, oh my God, I said this was from high school. I'm 32 now. Hello. Anyway, so basically what happened with him, because he did like girls that were like me as well, right? So it wasn't like he just liked light skin and Spanish girls. He even had a girlfriend that was darker skinned than me, even though him and I never ended up together. And I would attribute that to immaturity on his part and mine. He was with this girl that was way darker skinned than me. So it was this kind of way where it's not that he wouldn't date that, but he did have a preference and he used to make it very known, and this is what made me say ignorant, because the household I grew up in, I was taught that colorism and, and it's so awkward to talk about this now because what ended up happening in my car in Florida, it's just like, it just sucks. It doesn't look good, but I'm just keeping it real. All I can do is be real and be myself. I was taught in my household that colorism is ignorant. Like trying to have like a preference for a certain skin complexion is ignorant. This is how I was raised. This is the kind of household was raised in, a conscious household. So for me, I just thought ignorant with him specifically. And then I started to make generalizations later on down the line because I had a bad experience with two other people that shared the same nationality as him. And they didn't even have the same mindset as him. They really didn't, but I still just used that comment loosely because I was going back and forth with that dude, the cyber stalking. He wasn't even like that. So that's to tell you. Anyway, so the dude from high school, he kind of used to insult dark-skinned girls. He used to do it to me while I'm on the phone with him. Mind you, I'm not dark-skinned, but I'm not light-skinned either. I'm brown-skinned, right? So I used to feel like, oh my God, what if I'm not light enough? What if my hair isn't wavy enough because of the stuff he used to be saying to me? That's somebody that they could have dumped on for saying bad things about something that wasn't his preference. I didn't do that. They're acting like I was talking bad about shorter men. I wasn't. I just said my preference is this because of this. And I even went as far as to say it stems from insecurity. He was straight up just like saying some, he used to say some stuff, how he felt about darker skinned women, even though he did end up in a relationship after him and I were talking with this darker skinned girl. I thought that was interesting. But anyways, other than that, because you might say, well, then why did you like him? Why were you talking to him? Because he was a good person. Some people have character flaws, but they're all in all a good person. That was him. Like, aside from what I would call a character flaw, again, not because he had a preference, but because he was insulting what wasn't his preference. And it even built insecurity in me back then, not now. Anyways, that's what I would call a character flaw. Other than that, he was a really good person. He was very down to earth. He was into sports like me, very nice guy. Like, he was really a good person. And that was and we had chemistry. We had a lot of chemistry. And so that was what made me fall for him. And to me, I was just like, okay, this is just one bad part of him. And so that's why I liked him so bad. But it also did build an insecurity in me back then, not now. Anyway, so they took that and they ran with that, boy, and they started to try to create stuff with Spanish women. And then I realized why they were doing the Jocelyn Hernandez thing. Got to check out that video where I talked about that. Where did I talk about the Jocelyn Hernandez thing? Because it was so crazy. She was dead wrong. And they're going ham on me just because she's Spanish and I didn't catch on to what was going on until I realized they kept perpetually doing the same thing. When it came to lighter skinned women or Hispanic women, especially when I'm watching these dating shows and then I put it together, I was like, oh my God, it's because what I said in my story. Anyway, so check out my part 1 and part 2 discussing the race sensitization tactic utilized in my targeting. They tried to knock those videos down too when I created them. Anyway, understand I don't have an issue with Spanish women. Actually, my ex-boyfriend was Hispanic. He was from Colombia. Actually, he even though he was from Colombia, his ethnicity, like on the race card, if he was checking off his race, he would check off Caucasian. He was a white man from Colombia. So understand that. I don't have an issue with race. I said the things I said in my car out of anger. I do not have an issue with race. Anyway, they could noise campaign if they want. I'm a very real person. I do not have an issue with race. Anyway, even though it would seem that way with the offensive stuff I shared in my car in Florida. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say now, y'all, because I went off on a tangent. Oh, yeah. So I was trying to tell y'all about, why did I end up talking about, there is a reason why I always end up going off on tangent. I was telling y'all about the pool. I was telling y'all about because I was telling y'all how they weaponized everything that I said in my full story against me. And I said, oh yeah, I wanted to address that because I noticed they kept trying to use that thing that I said against me. And so that was something I wanted, because that's something they created a stimuli as well that I wanted to knock down in one of my videos and it didn't get a chance to. And so I just remembered when I was talking about the pool thing, that was another thing I said in my full story that they weaponized against me. So anyway, y'all heard the story with the pool thing, right? So that's kind of where that stimuli came from or derived from, what I said in my full story. So in this dream now that I was having this morning, um, I was in a pool, right? And so there was this guy by this landing board in the pool. It's this weird thing where he was kind of directing us. You know, there was like, I say us, but I wasn't directly a part of the dream until towards the latter part of it. So for the most part, I was kind of, sometimes like a dream is happening and you're floating off to the side and you're seeing what's happening, but you're not an active part of the dream. And then later in the dream, you start to become a part of it. That's kind of what was happening. Like I was watching this man, like I said, that was in the water and he was by like this landing. It's this weird landing area that was in the water that the people that were doing backflips off of the diving board, listen to the noises, y'all. They're like trying to stop me from, they do not want me to talk about this, y'all. Because when I get to what really started happening, right? Listen to you hear how they started getting loud? Hold on, let me go outside and chase it. No, I don't want my phone to shut off. Let me just finish this video. Please excuse the loud drone that's trying to distract me. Anyway, so he's in the water and he's by this landing area, and then you had like a line of people that were by a diving board, and they were doing backflips off the diving board, and then they were wearing flying suits. I don't know if I'm probably not using the right terminology. I don't know what that thing is called. I think it's called a wingsuit. I don't know what it's called. You know that suit that kind of looks like a not a parachute, but it's kind of like airy that a person can put on, and then they can jump over a cliff and put their arms out, and they can float down to the ground. I think it's called a wingsuit. I'm not sure what the thing is called, and I don't want to use the wrong terminology. But that thing that they can put on, that big baggy suit where they can jump and like put their arms out, and it's like they're floating down to the ground. This is what the people that were by the diving board were wearing, right? This is what the people that were by the diving board were wearing, right? And so they would do backflips off of the diving board, and then they would open their arms and float and land perfectly in the landing area where this guy in the pool was telling them to land. So I was like, this is an odd dream. So I didn't think that because I didn't even realize it was a dream, but I'm sitting there watching it and I'm just like, just watching. It's like I wasn't a part of it, but I'm watching what's happening. So all of a sudden I became a part of the dream. All of a sudden I'm doing the flip off the board and I land, right? And I land right next to him and he starts saying weird stuff. About this is what happens to chosen ones. This is what he's saying to me. He's looking creepy all of a sudden when I land in the water next to him. Like you have a dream and it starts off normal and then it starts to get ominous and it starts to get like this really ominous, scary kind of feeling. That's what started happening. It started getting really gnarly and creepy. He started to have like, how football players when they're in training, or let's say the military, when they're in training and they draw like the lines under the eyes with the paint and stuff. He had that under both of his eyes, like the painting, the drawing of like lines under his eyes, like black paint, all of a sudden when I'm in the water next to him. And he starts saying, this is what happens to chosen people. And then I saw this guy go to the diving board and before he could flip, they took a machete, and chopped his arm off. And then he does the backflip with his arm missing. So I said, what? And so I started to grab the dude that was there with the lines under his eyes, and I started pushing him down to the ground, under the water. Like I'm pushing him under the water. And while I'm doing it, I'm saying my prayers. I was like, I rebuke you in the name of Yeshua. I rebuke you in the name of Yeshua. And Yeshua is just Jesus, y'all. Yahweh is God. It's the same thing. It's just the Hebrew name for it. It's Jesus. So it's like, I rebuke you in the name of Yeshua, and I'm pushing him under the water. And then all of a sudden the dream shifts and I'm out of the pool. And so I'm to the side of the pool now. And in the pool is this muscular guy. They knew what they were doing, y'all. All of a sudden in the pool, while I'm standing outside the pool after I just rebuked the thing that was in the water, is this muscular guy, right? And he's there just watching me. And he's just watching me. We're having eye contact. Mind you, I'm not in control of the dream. I'm just explaining to y'all what happened. It's so awkward to talk about. But they've done this before, y'all, where they send me these dreams that will create something so I can wake up humiliated. It's so awkward. It's weird talking about this stuff, y'all. It's so awkward because, you have a live audience and people are always watching you. But I need to document what they did, right? Because I can't concretely prove they did this. I've already proven to y'all in my other dream manipulation videos that they have the technology to control your dreams and send you vivid dreams. I did it in my part 4 video, my part 2 video, my part 1 video, my part 3 video. I showed y'all the evidence. I don't want to redundantly do that again in this video. Let me just quickly show y'all something. I always feel like I need to do that before I talk about the dream that I had, just as a refresher, because we get gaslit so much as targets, before I talk about what happened here in this dream, because it was them. I can't concretely prove it, y'all. I can prove the technology exists. I can prove I'm targeted. I can't concretely prove that they sent me this dream, but yeah, y'all, Anyway, so let me show y'all something. hello, welcome. How they were acting with me, but that is why. Sorry, y'all, I'm just trying to show you a quick 17-second clip from a popular YouTube channel talking about the capability of this technology. Pushed into my head. They would keep clicking on the. So before I share his video where he's talking with his video, because he's, there's stimuli in his videos, a 17-second video that he has on his page that talks about this technology.
Something called psychoelectric weapons. Now you guys might be thinking, psycho what? And what can these weapons actually do? Well, this is where it gets super scary. They can do everything from controlling your dreams, controlling body movements, induce changes to your hearing.
Y'all heard that, right? And then there's even another clip in this video where there's a target talking about his experience with dream manipulation. Hold on, let me fast forward to it. I'm not going to play it, y'all, because it's a long part of the video. I'm not trying to play the whole thing. Him. Oh, boy. Hold on. This guy, right? In this video, I shared a clip of him talking about his experience with dream manipulation. So please check out this video, y'all. This is also one of the links included in the description box and comment section. I give good info in this video about neuromonitoring and the technology utilized on targets. It's titled Evidence of Mind Control Technology Used on Targeted Individuals. The link is in the description box in the comment section. Also, y'all, there's another video. I believe I put the link to this video in the description box in the comment section as well. I keep saying I'm going to. If I haven't yet, know that I will eventually. But even if you don't see it in the description box and comment section, you can just scroll through my videos and see this video that's titled Diagram of Neuromonitoring Effects on Targeted Individuals. I'm not going to share the whole video, y'all. Just going to share a quick clip of it because I want to show you something. This diagram was released from DARPA in a freedom of speech press conference for targeted individuals. And it was released, right? Look at the capabilities of this technology. Look at the upper right-hand corner. You can see the caption that's going from the brain that says vivid. Oh, I'm sorry, I was trying to zoom in. Let me not do too much because this phone keeps shutting off. And I do not want that to happen. I will be so upset if I did this whole video and that happened, right? I'm almost feeling like I should end the video now just in case that happens and do another clip and put it together. That's how much I don't want this thing to shut off before I finish. But I'm just trying to hold the phone still and finish the video. But anyway, in the upper right-hand corner, you can see vivid controlled dreams as one of the capabilities of this technology. So understand they have the capability to do that. And in several of my videos, I have shown y'all evidence and documentation that they have the capability to do this, right? One more thing I'm going to show y'all before I finish talking about this part of the dream, because I want it to be very clear that they can do this. You see this here? It says patent. This is a patent, y'all. There are other patents. You can look it up online. Patent US 6506148. Nervous system manipulation. So you know your nervous system has to do with your brain, your thought process, etc. By electromagnetic fields for monitors. So they're talking about the brain to computer interface technology, neuromonitoring, dream manipulation, thought manipulation, etc. If they want, they can control your body movements when you're microchipped. And you can see it says Google patents. So Google is not going to put up a fictitious patent, y'all. So know the technology exists. There's a plethora of information out there about it. So I always like to make sure to share those type of things, y'all, before I talk about my experience so I can validate my experience. Because you know you get gaslit as a target. And they'd love to make it seem like that was your dream and not them, right? So anyways, and even if I did have a dream like that, it would be normal. I'm a young woman. I'm 33. But understand that this was likely 99.999%. I'm 99.999% sure, just for the sake of not bearing false witness. I won't say 100% sure, certain that this was dream manipulation. Anyway, so sorry, I was trying to go back to where I was at, y'all. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so I understand all of a sudden I'm outside the pool. I'm standing outside the pool. I was just in the pool, like pushing down what felt like a demon and rebuking him. And all of a sudden I'm outside the pool now. And there's this guy in the pool, this muscular guy. Mind you, they know I like muscular men. I already talked about the fact that one of my types, just giving too much freaking info, man. I gave them weight, like I on a silver platter handed these people what they needed to chop me down. I told them that one of my types is muscular men. It's not a requirement. I can date a man that's not muscular. I have before. I've dated heavyset men, I've dated skinny men, I've dated men of all body types. For me, the only vain requirement, and I keep saying this and they tried to give me backlash for it, is that the guy has to be my height or taller. He has to be bigger than me. That's my only vain requirement. And I've already just explained what that's about. I don't care about the body type, all that other stuff. It's really not that serious, but I do like muscular men. That is a type of mine. They know that, right? All of a sudden this big muscular dude is in the pool, like, come on, giving me the eye, and him and I are like having this eye contact moment, like something's about to go down, right? And then all of a sudden he comes out the pool and we're walking into this room. I'm just trying to explain to y'all, I know this is a TMI, I'm documenting for my protection because it's when they did it too. This is why I feel like this is why I said the word frame. It's because when this part of the dream started to happen, it's when it started happening. If you hear what part of the video, remember I told y'all, there's a reason why I'm documenting. I document all of my dreams, and this just happens to be a gnarly one. All of them are gnarly, but this just happens to be an uncomfortable one, a lewd one, but I need to talk about it. This video, sharing stimuli used to sensitize me, I was right at the part where I was talking about the stimuli, right? Where I was talking about the stimuli they try to use against me. All of a sudden, the dream morphs into what it morphs into right at that part of the video. They know what they were trying to do. So anyways, so all of a sudden, me and this guy, we're walking into the room, and, it's awkward to talk about, but, I pushed him down, and whatever was happening, right, starts happening. Right? It didn't start happening. We did not do anything, right? I'm trying to explain to you the vividness of the dream, because understand, these dreams are vivid, very vivid dreams. You saw what the thing said in the diagram, right? It said vivid dreams. This wasn't me. The Starting Vehicle and Making Noise campaign, when they sent this dream to me, and when I say they, I don't mean the gang stalkers, but they're down with the program, right? They're helping with the program. I strongly believe this dream was sent to me, especially when it happened, y'all. So anyways, not to give too much details, but I was on top of him. We were not doing anything yet, but this is what was leading up to in the dream. And they've done this before to me to humiliate me. And then I'll wake up. You know how it is when you wake up from that kind of dream? Sometimes you might wake up. It's so embarrassing. But this happens to, this is grown people talk. This happens to everybody. It's just not everybody's being stared at. Sometimes you might wake, it's so embarrassing. It's happened to me before. It hasn't happened in a long time. You might wake up gyrating or something like that because of what was happening in the dream. It's happened to me before. They're trying to humiliate me. They know all these people are watching me. It hasn't happened in a long time, thank the Most High, because that's so embarrassing. Even though that's something that happens to everyone, it's still humiliating when you're being watched and it happens to you. Now imagine had that happened to me while that part of the video was playing. I know what they were trying to do. And the Most High stepped in. They keep talking about angels watching. The Most High really is watching. He stepped in just then. So I was on top of the guy, right? And whatever was about to happen was definitely about to happen. And then he just starts saying to me randomly, he starts saying words that sounded regurgitated, words I had heard before that sounded familiar. And so I was like, yeah, I know how that feels. I said, yeah, I know how that feels. And I'm waking up answering him what he was saying to me. I woke up saying to him, yeah, I know how that feels. And I know they heard that thought too. Thank the Most High. I woke up saying to him, yeah, I know how that feels. And then when I woke up, the video was playing that I had fell asleep listening to, where I was busting down that stimuli they try to use against me, that bend over stimuli, and I was giving my account and my experience with the situation. And those were the words that I heard him regurgitating to me in the dream, that I woke up saying, yeah, I know how that feels too. Imagine if that hadn't happened and the Most I hadn't stepped in and made that happen. Like, we would have went whatever in the dream, and I would probably woke up humping the bed. Excuse me, I know that sounds freaking vulgar, but I want you to understand the humiliation of what's done with their technology and how they can humiliate you with all these people watching you. I would have woke up doing that while that part of the video was playing. You see what they were trying to do? This is why I say frame. And so I woke up instead, that stopped what was happening there, and instead I heard his words, and I said, yeah, I know how that feels. And I woke up saying that. I'm like, thank the Most High. I'm like, look at what these people were trying to do. Like, real wickedness. Like, I'm telling you, this is why I said framing. Because they're flying to fly in my face. when I was starting the video, because, you know, I was talking about the fact that if I say things and I can't concretely prove it, then they'll really start doing it to me. And so I don't want them to now really start hardcore aggressively trying to frame, but it kind of feels like, you know, anyway, I don't want them to hardcore start doing that to me, right? So I was careful with my words, and I've been careful with my words, but look at when the dream turned into that right when I was at that part of the video. And had I not, like, the guy that whatever was happening with, had he not regurgitated those words to me, and I answered him and said, yeah, I know how that feels, and started waking up, I probably would have woke up gyrating or whatever while that part's playing. You understand? So I had to document that shit, man. I'm like, nah, man, these people are really trying to actively frame me. I was like, what? I said, no, I have to document this. I said, there's no way, I have to document this, because now this is getting really gnarly. It's been gnarly. I was like, I gotta document this shit. So that's it, y'all. Let me be careful. I don't want this video to, I don't want it to delete. I told y'all what's going on with my phone. That's it, y'all. This is just dream manipulation part 5. You know, it's like a lot of crazy shit that you deal with as a target. And it's really scary with all the technology they have, because if they want, they can frame you. Anyways, that's it, y'all. That's all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to do that documentation, man. I'll talk to y'all on the next one. Peace out.